So not only did that cost us Cubs ML last night, that just cost the Cubbies the season. I cannot believe they blew that 6-0 lead last night when I told everybody the Cubs ML was my most confident play. That was moose shit. Give me the Ducks. I'm fading Colorado. Give me Oregon to win this game big and catch Colorado sleeping, coming in on their high horse thinking they could beat anybody. Well, they're about to get taught a lesson. That was the most Notre Dame melt I've ever seen.
So I don't know why we're rushing 3, even if we're short a guy. I don't know why linebackers are not playing up further on the line. I don't understand any part of it.
The Cowboys did it again. They lose to the frickin' Cardinals.
That's a concerning game for sure from the Cowboys. The real meat on table play would be his completions. There's just not a line out for that yet, so I don't want to just pull a number out of my ass. But he's going to dink and dunk their way to a lot of completions and probably a lot of yards too.
Damn, brand new bag for pro, but I didn't pay for it. I don't like spending that cash because I'm trying.
What's good, chat? How we doing today? BTL, I believe episode 328, creeping up on the year mark there. Super exciting. But yeah, coming off of yesterday, such a weird polar opposite day. And yes, no crabs today. I'll be working solo for about the first 30. Then we're going to have the Jen come on here and we'll do a little talk about TNF, NFL weekend preview, and talk about some other stuff as well. But yeah, yesterday was weird. Yesterday was kind of what you expect when it comes to wild card games, somewhat, I guess you could say. Game 2 of wild card series, I would say, is the hardest point to cap at any point of an MLB season, and it wasn't easy. We had a lot of green on the prize picks board, but nearly none on the sides and totals, other than a little push, which is not green. But yeah, super weird day. We can put that the little graphic up now, Goots. Absolute piss. I mean, we kind of overlapped, so it was a lot with the Brewers and then Middle Tennessee State, which we very clearly do not have a steam crab segment today, but I guarantee you it'd be on that second half for Jacksonville State. Crazy. A lot of weird turnovers and defensive scores and everything there. Super weird. Fell for the bait there. Took the L on the chin. Only non-red we have here is this little Marlins over, which honestly shouldn't have been pushed. So that was tough. But can go back to the prize picks board. We did have a good day for once. The B team's been taking the cake for the past couple weeks. Now we got a little A team cash, and it was easy. Got Barrios got pulled pretty early, which we'll talk about in a little bit. We talk about these MLB games. Freddie Peralta, pretty solid start until it wasn't. Back in that disaster class of an inning where he finally got pulled to give up that second walk, as well as one I believe in the first inning as well. And then Nick Vattiato, that was super easy. Even despite what happened throughout that game, first half cash with the passing touchdowns, which was huge. So we got that. We also had a little sneak 4-piece, which included some of these props that we also hit. The one that we crafted on stream, which included Josh Lowe. Got a little Meemaw there. He scored the only run for the Rays in that game. Then we had the Barrios and Peralta stack, and then the Braxton Garrett under outs. Super sharp. Super sharp there. Yeah, Barrios quickest of leashes. B team continues to feed families. Not yesterday. Yesterday was the A team show, which was a nice little switch up. But yeah, super weird day. Super green on the PP board. Not so much on sides and totals. Now today we only have a couple of college football games and then Thursday night football. So we're mainly going to talk those and then a couple of the NFL games this weekend as well. So we'll get into that. First, I want to talk a good bit about the MLB games yesterday because, I don't know, it's kind of disappointing to not see any game threes the way these games went. I mean, we can start with the Rangers-Rays series, which was absolute piss, and I kind of saw it coming relatively a little bit after we saw the first game or even halfway through that game. Rays offense looked like it did in the Guardian series last year. I got disgusting flashbacks from that even after a couple innings in game one, which is why I was so dead set on not putting any coin on the Rays. I liked the Rangers game one. Game two, I liked them too, but I didn't put any coin on them because I felt really, really bad about what the Rays were going to do, and their offense didn't show up. It's tough. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. Really, 3 out of the top 5 of that lineup not here, injured / Wander Franco situation, and then the pitching wasn't really all that bad, but it was it's tough without probably 3 guys that would go in these 3 games if necessary. But they just didn't have it. The Rangers are decent. I wouldn't say I was all that impressed by the Rangers. It was really, I mean, their offense took advantage of a lot of the defensive woes of the Rays in the series. Their pitching was good, but again, took advantage of a pretty tough Rays offense. And big dog bets, we'll talk a little bit more college football tomorrow in all likelihood. We'll go through a college football preview there, and Drew, of course, need the pitch cake. But yeah, I would say the Raiders didn't impress me all that much in that series. They took care of business as they needed to. The Rays were just bad. There was a lot more Rays deficiencies than anything when it comes to that series. So kind of glad I don't have to suffer through a game 3 of watching that offense. But shout out the Rangers. They're still decent. Evan Carter is good and going to be good for a while. Nathan Eovaldi was absolutely lights out. Absolutely lights out. And again, Rays offense was god-awful. Looking at some of those at-bats, they were not competitive for the slightest and 90% of them, but nevertheless, playoff Nate Eovaldi. For those who are new to baseball, better get used to it because he was dealing. See how he does against the Orioles. Brighton over 3. There's our pitch cake, chat. There's our pitch cake. There we go. And yeah, interesting series price on the Rangers Orioles. We'll get to that in a second once we wrap up the rest of these games, talking about some of them there because there's a couple lines that stick out to me. But yeah, we can talk about this it's Twins Blue Jays series now, which feels weird saying all these are going to be sweeps or all these were sweeps. The Blue Jays somehow looked pretty comparable to the Rays in that series. They never really were competitive. They had a couple guys in scoring position, really only a handful of times, really could not break through. Now, like you see here, it's 7 seasons without winning a playoff game for the Blue Jays. They just can't crack the seal, man. Crack the seal. Bozo Bichette. A lot of these guys really just did not pull their weight in the series. And this is kind of the Blue Jays team that I expected coming into this season would really be up there talent-wise and never really have anything to show for it. And it looked exactly like that. And again, I am a big Twins supporter here. So, like, I've been kind of convincing myself since before the playoffs started, the Twins, outside of their path, which I do think is very doable, when we talk about the Astros series coming up as well, I like the Twins. I like their bats a lot, even though they weren't extremely flashy in the series. Their pitching, it's the best set of arms that they've had in God knows how long to make a little playoff push here. And, of course, they didn't play the Yankees, so they don't have to run into that little monster that bites them in the ass every single season. So, I mean, I'm a big Twins fan, but this is kind of – I viewed it the same as the Rays-Rangers series, as much as I hate to say it. I wasn't all that impressed with the Twins either. Their pitching was good, of course, but that Blue Jays offense was pitiful, especially with runners in scoring position the couple of times that they had it. And then this, too, this is just a mistake that you cannot have in the playoffs. Getting picked off at second base when you have one of the few chances that you have with guys in scoring position in this game with, I mean, arguably your best hitter at this point at the plate. So, I mean, a play by Sonny Gray and Correa calling that play. I think A-Rod broke it down with the little signals, which I guess everybody does, but it was cool to hear him talk about it. That's a play that just can't happen. And that absolutely summed up their offense and their season. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Javon, man, you knew the Rays were kicked, and the guy came up and said, raise them at 1.5. It's like what I saw from them yesterday after 4 errors and 0 runs. Yeah, I mean, the Rays, you could tell very early from game 1, they really never had a pulse in that series. I'll say that. Which is why if I think the Rays have a pulse in a series, I will be betting them like that. So whenever you guys see me not do that, take notes of my confidence. But yes, W awareness from Sonny Gray here. Definitely some shit wagers here. Shout out Trent. The inverted glass now that looks lefty is still funny to me. But yeah, the Blue Jays in the race. 10 unit straight bets 2 days in a row, and they scored 2 combined runs in 4 games. So pretty close. Pretty close. Laid the juice on the Rays. I guess back-to-back days. All of Twitter did yesterday for God knows what reason, and that was a show wager. Absolute show wager. The AL East might be extremely fraudulent, which, I don't know, doesn't bode well for the Orioles in the slightest. But yeah, the AL was super tough to watch. So I think it's going to make the rest of it very, very interesting. 40 units absolutely vanish. Yes, that's piss. But the NL was a little more exciting. I'll say that. Despite the squad ride piss yesterday with the Brewers, I mean, that was an exciting game. Ketel Marte and a couple of these D-backs hitters weren't all that consistent throughout the game, but they came through when it mattered, which is huge for a team that needs that, especially against an offense in the Brewers that, I mean, they sputter. That's kind of the reason that we've been out on them a little bit some majority of this season. You got people complaining in chat that we don't like the Brewers or we don't believe in the Brewers. This is why. I mean, their pitching is always going to keep them in games, but their bats are not consistent enough to win the games. And then you have one bad inning from Freddie Peralta, and then I forget who comes out of the bullpen. I think it was Abner Uribe. Sets off everything for Brewers. So, I mean, this is the same stuff they do every single year. So to see this is not that surprising, to say the least. I do still like the team they put together, and I think they'll be good going forward, but Snakes bit. Snakes absolutely bit. Yes, definitely a couple interesting decisions from Craig Counsell. I'll tell you that much. But I do got to say, the D-backs bullpen, which has been an issue for them this entire season, it impressed. That's the one part. Like, I think they, again, another situation where I think they kind of took advantage of some Brewers bats that were subpar or getting their first experience in the playoffs. We talk about some of the bottom of that lineup. So, I mean, it's tough, but the D-backs bullpen has been one of the worst in the league. We've been targeting them multiple times when you talk about overs, when you talk about the back half of games, because they've been so bad. They were lights out in this series. So you got to give them credit for that. That was super interesting to see. And it's, while I really don't think they have all that much of a pulse going into the series against the Dodgers, it'll make things a little more interesting. I'll say that much. Yeah, gotta give you respect to the D-backs. Definitely Evan Longoria, Rays legend. It was exciting to see. They're a young team that's fun. And we'll see. We'll see if they can hang in there. And yeah, not Council's fault they left 20 on base. Absolutely not. From a pitching perspective, it was definitely a couple strange decisions there. But from the offensive side of things, there's not much you can do. Not much you can do. In those 2 games, Brewers loaded the base 4 times. They got 2 runs. Yeah, dude. It's unreal. That offense just does what the offense does every single year. And we saw that, especially when you have a lot of young guys in the lineup, especially towards the bottom now. Mantiply was Edwin Diaz out the bullpen. Yeah, dude. If he's good, he's good. Ginkel's good. Sewald's good. I mean, this team could be dangerous. Could be dangerous. I don't think they are against the Dodgers, like I said, and we'll go through that when we talk about the series prices a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of tough to see. Train W's. We love to see that. Love to see that. Brewers are always a joke. Come playoff time, tough, super tough. Where I see Council going to next year, no clue. Just left Freddie in too long. Absolutely. So, I mean, tough. We'll see what the D-backs kind of show against the Dodgers. I don't think it'll be that much, but the real series that everybody's going to be talking about is Phillies Braves. That's going to be, I don't know, arguably could be the best series of the playoffs, World Series included. I mean, this grand slam from Bryson Stott last night, while I really don't think the Marlins had any pulse in that game for really even a second of it, minus a couple late base runners, I guess right before this, the ending before this, I think it might have been the top of the 6th. This was electric. When you have guys at the bottom of this lineup like Bryson Stott, even Christian Pache, a lot of the guys, Yohan Rojas at the bottom of this lineup, if they're producing just in big moments like this, I don't know who's beating this team. And we talk about the Braves. The reason they've been so good all season is offensively, they've kind of done the same thing. They've just done it better, and they're deeper. And they're one of the deepest lineups that we've ever seen. This Phillies team is getting hot at the right time. We've talked about it all season. This Braves this Braves team, the pitching staff is a bigger issue than a lot of people want to give them credit for, especially the back half of that bullpen. So, I mean, coming into the series, this is a team who's proven they can beat them very recently, and they're playing their best baseball this season. So, it's going to be an awesome series. Atmosphere is insane. Absolutely. I mean, in the playoffs, I think this is quite easily the wildest environment you're going to see. You could argue that the regular season too. Neutral fans just want the series to go 5. I mean, absolutely. This is just, we need to see a winner go home game in the series. We need to see a game 5, 100%. And yeah, this is funny. Trey not getting, it didn't end up mattering for the entry because I believe Contreras was in that one too. But the fact that we had 7 guys get a run for the 7 separate guys get a run for the Phillies, and Trey was not one of them, definitely sucked. Definitely sucked. 6th ranked BP. Don't just look at ERA, brother. Don't just look at ERA. There's more things that go into it when you talk about these bullpens. So if you look at all the analytics, they'll tell you they're a bigger issue than people realize. A lot of the stats are also from the beginning of the season as well. And yes, Padawan, no crabs today. It'll be me, and then we'll be joined very, very shortly. Got some of the link by DeGen. We'll go over a lot of NFL stuff. Braves don't win a playoff game. That's a little far. The Bats will win them a playoff game alone, but I do kind of think it's the Phils in the series. I don't think the Braves win in 3. I think the only situation the series is not going any shorter than 5 games, in my opinion. But yeah, we can look at some of these prices. Look at these series prices. Very interesting, like people were mentioning, this Orioles-Rangers series, which has actually kind of moved a little further back towards the Orioles now. Is at a pick 'em for a little bit, so not a huge move, but 5-cent move towards the Orioles. I don't know. It's kind of weird to say because the Rangers, yes, that's a lot of respect against an Orioles team that, they got a first-round bye. They've been all pretty dominant towards the end of the season. But we do see this kind of all the time. This is like I don't really know who to compare it to. It's just like fading the Orioles in sharp spots really doesn't work. So I don't know. It seems like a little short line. I'm interested to see what you guys lean on this one. Feel free to put it in the chat, but that's going to be a really good series. I would be lying if I didn't think the Rangers were live just because of the ball they're playing right now. And outside of like Kyle Bradish, can't say I believe in that Orioles rotation very much. The back end of the bullpen is still deep like it's been all season, but it's a little different now with no Felix Bautista. A little different. O's, baby. I see you, Goats. I see you, man. Rangers are looking scary. I don't know. I don't know what they are. And we'll go over like final favorite series bets probably tomorrow. These lines are just dropping, so I'm not fully labbed up on there. But I wouldn't say the Rangers look scary. I mean, they're playing good baseball right now, but I mean, just a little bit ago, they ended the season on an absolute torrid streak. So again, like that's a couple of these series I think are just taking advantage of teams that are playing pretty bad baseball, which the Rays was kind of the quintessential version of that. So I wasn't that impressed by the Rangers. I'll say that. But going into this Orioles series, I think it's going to get weird. The Rangers bullpen has to implode at some point. Yeah, that's the thing too, because like the Rays, their offense was bad, obviously, so they're not going to expose the bullpen, but also they weren't in many stressful situations because they won both the games pretty easily, so you didn't have much of a chance to get that bullpen exposed. So it's weird. Braves are the MLB version of the Nuggets. The Braves, I don't think that's even close of a comparison. I think they're like Vanderbilt of college baseball, if anybody knows that. Or not Vanderbilt, Wake Forest of this season. They're overly dominant to the point where they're the best team by far pretty much the entire season, to the point where you really kind of know, or at least you think, it ain't going to last. Rays couldn't hit for shit, but the pitching was impressive. Yeah, the pitching wasn't bad. Pitching wasn't bad at all. Can't argue that. Evaldi was great. Montgomery was great. It's just I think the bullpen issues are going to be hidden because of the leads they're playing with. Dane Dunning going to pitch a gem. I could absolutely see that. Absolutely could see that. Being dominant in NBA is much different than in baseball. Absolutely. Whip in the bullpen rankings earlier. Yeah, that's not the only bullpen set there. So yeah, I probably leaned Rangers, but I can tell you right now the Rangers are going to be pretty public in this spot. So I'm going to keep continuing to watch where that line moves and kind of see how it reacts. I don't know there. Astros Twins is another one where I still want to wait and kind of evaluate that series for another day here. Because the Twins, like I said, this is, I guess, first on the Astros side. We're used to the Astros having these dominant arms that we can kind of rely on, which Framber, when he's on, can absolutely be a dominant arm. We've seen that a couple of times this season, especially, I mean, he had a no-hitter. He had a near no-hitter against the A's, I believe, second time around as well. But we also see him go on the road, which who knows how it's going to line up. He's probably going to pitch at home So not pointing that out as a key split to pay attention to here, but we've seen the bad, whether it's on the road, whether it's at home. I guess even at home when they got swept by the Royals in that series, that really should have put them in position to not get a first-round bye, but the Rangers really helped them out there. The Rangers and Mariners really helped them out there. We've seen the bad. Framber gave up 6 in that spot. He's been prone to a lot of these bad matchups, giving up a lot of hard contact as a ground ball pitcher, which is not great to see. Christian Javier has shown spots. He looked better to kind of close the season, but overall he hasn't been great. Brown is young and he struggled. A lot of these arms are just not inspiring the same type of confidence that you're expecting to see from the Astros. And while, yes, you still have the bats. You still have the bats who have been there before, and Altuve and a Yordan and a Michael Brantley now, who's a bigger addition back in that lineup than some people think. It's a tough series. I'm a fan of the Twins, especially if this rotation lines up well. I'm interested to see who they go with game 1 and 2 in Houston. But when they come back, if they can get out of those first 2 games split in Houston and they're coming back and they have their top aces on the mound in game 3 and 4, watch out for the Twins, man. Watch for the Twins. Martin Perez versus Fujinami is what the people need to see. Absolutely. That would be absolutely hilarious. Urquidy is undefeated in the World Series. I doubt he gets a start this year because he's not in the rotation, but he might get a bulk appearance or a long relief appearance. Kyle Tucker played like an MVP candidate. Absolutely. Chas McCormick, key lefty split as well. Sounds like we got some overs in that series. I'm not so sure. It depends on the matchups that we get. Early in the series, I could see that, but I do want to back the Twins pitching staff as well when we talk about Pablo coming back on around and then maybe a Sonny Gray performance as well. Like that's spots where I think you're going to get similar performances to what you saw in the Blue Jays series. So again, we'll pay attention to the matchups we get, especially in game 2 and 1 there, because it's not going to be either of those guys. Nicky pivoted off the Rays and took the Rangers. Joe Ryan game 1. Yeah, I would assume. Framber, Javier, Verlander, France, and Hunter is a lethal rotation. Yeah, it was a little more lethal if you would have said that last season. A little more lethal last season. Verlander has been bad. Javier has been bad. Framber has been very good or bad. Really no in between there. It's kind of tough. Astros better on the road than Minute Maid. Yeah, 100%. Duran locked in. Yeah, if Duran is locked into the back end of that bullpen, is managed really well for the Twins, they're going to be super, super scary. That's been one of the issues with them all season. So we'll be shocked, or I wouldn't be shocked if it starts to look better, kind of like the Snakes did. The Neil Legacy performance from Verlander, absolutely. And again, he's a guy who's been there before, so I don't want to doubt him. But it's again, hasn't inspired as much confidence as you've seen from the Astros in years past. And of course, Matt, I got to mention Dallas Keuchel, absolute GOAT, revenge game coming. He's going to have probably a long for appearance in here somewhere. I hope it's not a little damage control, but yeah, I expect to see him in the series, and I expect him to pitch well, which would be funny. Concerned the Twins bats didn't do anything outside of Royce. No, not really. I mean, what are you gonna do? I think they were good. I mean, they're hitting the ball hard a lot of the time, but I mean, they had some pretty tough matchups. And I guess like on the surface, when I look at these pitchers, I'm not going to come out here and say that Framber's ceiling is not as high as a Barrios or anything crazy like that, but I like their matchups a little better when you talk about the pitchers that they're going to face outside of like Gausman a little bit in spots. But yeah, I think they'll be fine. I guess you could look at any team without their best player in the lineup and say nobody else did anything. We see that with Yordan all the time in the Astros lineup. So we'll see. I believe in their bats for sure. Keuchel, bro, this ain't 2015. You might have to listen to that one again. Astros might close sweep them. Guarantee they will not sweep the Twins. Second half ERA leaders. Cole, Bradish, G-Rod. Keep telling me O's can't pitch. I don't know. I told you Bradish could pitch. I love Bradish. I'm a huge Bradish guy. I love G-Rod too, but you're not going to win a playoff series with two guys. I'll tell you that much. The back end is a problem. So especially if you get one of those two guys, let's say Bradish. I hope Bradish has a really good start. I'm a huge Bradish guy. And then Grayson, who is making his first playoff start in a while, gets touched up a little bit. You're 1-1 going into a really poor back end of your rotation. So that's the problem there for the Orioles. Whereas Chelly, preseason NHL, we'll have to get that going very soon. And yeah, I kind of believe in this too when I talk about the Twins. Breaking the streak is a huge thing for them with the weight lifted off their shoulders. I think that's a huge momentum swing for that team. So I'll be super excited to pay attention to that. But yeah, the AL is going to be weird, just like it was in the wild card round, and the NL is going to be awesome too. I mean, the Braves and the Phillies. I think the Phillies are very live in that series. I assume everybody's going to tell you that at this point, and I don't really care. That series is going to be awesome. I think it goes 5 no matter what, no matter how it plays out. These two teams are just going to go blow for blow. So like that's, if you don't want to bet and you just want to watch a series, that's probably the one to do it. That's the one to do it. That's going to be a great series. On the other hand, the Dodgers D-backs, I don't know if the Diamondbacks win a game, to be honest with you. I don't know if he does or if they do. I think they come out in game 1, which assume it has to be Merrill Kelly, which the way that starts would line up, it would probably land on him. And Merrill Kelly, everybody knows how Merrill Kelly's pitched against the Dodgers. He's had a couple of good starts here and there, but he's seen him a million times. They hit him pretty well. So game 1, I think you see a Dodgers team absolutely blitz them and beat them by 6, 7, 8 runs. It's like from that point on, if you have a D-backs team didn't hit like that early and often, I think it's going to last for the whole series. I think the Dodgers dominate the series. I will lay a game line on the series once this drops. I guess now it probably drops. You can see that go to that series handicap, Goots. I want to see what the price is on that 1.5 for the Dodgers series. Keep going a little bit. I'll go to the Dodgers. There we go. Minus 1.5 games, plus 125. I think that's a solid value bet right there. Solid value bet from the win. Sweeper 3-1. I love that. I think they actually dominate the series. And the D-backs bullpen, as much as I want to buy back into it, I think it's going to be interesting. Now we got the Jen in here. Right before we're about to hop in to some NFL preview.
What's up? How we doing?
We're just wrapping up a little baseball talk. Give me your quick Rays thoughts. Rays piss thoughts.
Yeah, nothing new. More of the same. I don't know why I expected anything differently. If you look at the lineup, you try to have some hope. I'm very down today. I was very down yesterday. I'm trying to shake it. I don't know about you. I heard you on BTL a little bit yesterday, and you were more realistic and grounded with your expectations. I was getting more excited about Eflin, kind of thinking, we have a poor performance from Glass now, and then, maybe a good one from Eflin. That didn't happen. It was crazy to see how effortless it was for the Rangers hitting the ball. I don't know if that has more to do with them or more to do with our pitching. But yeah, I mean, just a lifeless offense and team. They look like it was spring training. And I see we got some bang. Oh, Steak with some sub.
We got some steak bangs. Steak.
Oh, my guy Steak's watching. There we go. What's up, Steak?
Go.
So even Steak rode with us, and Steak almost went to the game. I'm glad he saved the gas and the miles on his car. So anyways, I'm sad. It sucks realistically with all the injuries. I know we weren't winning the World Series. I hope we stay healthy. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, who they keep, who they don't keep. Probably going to be time to move someone, man. Do they trade a Glass now? Do they trade one of these big names, like they did with Snell? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I'm optimistic heading into next season. What can you do? Tip of the cap to the Orioles winning the division. They had an incredible month of July, I think it was, when they had like the hardest schedule, beat the teams most people probably expected them not to, and then they ended with the easiest schedule, and good for them. So I think these next series are pretty interesting. It sucks we have nothing going on today in baseball, but I know you probably just recapped all of it. So I'm bummed. I'm down, but keep my head up.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, my expectations were realistic because I watched that game 1 and I was just immediately. It felt like game 3 of the Guardians wildcard series last year. Like they just extended the series and it was the same team playing the same game. So that's why I couldn't do it to myself with the Rays yesterday. But yeah, that was tough. They got to move somebody because they're not winning.
Let me ask you one question. We can move on. I will say when Yandy goes 0 for 5 in the first game, you need him to bounce back. And first at bat, I think it was first pitch single. Did that give you a little bit of confidence? Because it got me fired up.
No,
Okay.
No, it got me a little excited to see him actually in the game, which it was that, and he made a decent play in the field after missing every single ball that went to him in game one. So I was like, okay, maybe Andy's playing well. But I promised myself and kind of told myself I would not get my hopes up until I see a run across the plate. And when you first time you see that, cuts the lead to 6, cuts the deficit to 6, it's hard to get hope.
Right.
But yeah, I'm definitely was trying to be a little more pessimistic in that series, and I'm glad I was. It's no letdown, but yeah, really disappointing to have no game 3s today. I'm interested to hear your thoughts really quickly on a couple of these other games, especially, or a couple of these other series, especially D-backs Dodgers, because I know the D-backs, you were pretty big on the snakes biting the last, or I guess first 2 games, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. What do you think they look like against the Dodgers here?
Yeah, my only reads on all the series, most of them were awful. You know, the Blue Jays, the Rays. I was hoping the Marlins would win. I liked the unders in that series. I guess those came in. The Snakes were the only thing I was right on, but they bid a little too hard for me. I went over 2.5 in that game, or in that series, and didn't hit. But I don't think they stand a chance against the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers were, at least I know they were. I think they were yours as well. And we Steak is on the Dodgers, and he had kind of like your reads lined up last year with the Chiefs, and I think you've made that correlation before. But like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they lose Tyreek Hill. You know, everybody's kind of counting them out. The Chiefs go on to win the Super Bowl. Kind of felt like the Dodgers are this year's Chiefs, and you know, I know they've taken a hit to the rotation. I don't know if that's gonna maybe be what prevents them from winning it all moving forward, but I don't know. I mean, like, even if they were to match up with like the Braves, I guess the Braves have some question marks with like their bullpen. So maybe they can get by with that. I think it's probably the Dodgers. And I think in this particular series, I think they probably win it like 4-1. And you mentioned the other night that they cover the run line in every game. I could probably see that. So I'm with you. I think it's Dodgers. And I don't know what the series like spread is, if it's -2.5, but I'd probably lay that.
Yeah, well, so we just looked at that really quickly. You're getting -1.5 for plus 120, 125, I think it said. So I mean, I'm laying that. Yeah, I'm laying that. I think it's a little overreaction from the D-backs looking dominant in this series for God knows what reason.
Me too. Because my whole thing with the D-backs is it was more about not trusting the Braves than it was liking the D-backs. Like the D-backs kind of have that.
Brewers, you mean, right?
Oh, the Brewers. Yeah, sorry. Not trusting the Brewers. You can't. I've been burned with them before in the postseason, and like they just are that team, and they had so many opportunities. I felt like every inning they had the fucking men on base and bases loaded multiple times. Couldn't get anybody across the plate. So I don't know. The Snakes kind of escaped with one there. I don't think the Dodgers make those mistakes. So yeah, I'm not really have much faith in the D-backs. So I'd probably lay the Dodgers -1.5 series. That would probably be my favorite series bet. I know that maybe that's probably pretty chalky and square, but
yeah,
that's what I'm leaning.
It's probably mine too. Yeah, I think they get a little 3-0, 3-1 in this series.
Yeah.
So, I mean, plus 125, plus 125. Can't talk. I'll take that. But yeah, we'll wrap up the baseball talk for a little bit and then get into. We'll talk a little bit about
the NFL. Got it. Sorry about that. I said 4-1.
Yeah,
3-1.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's 5. Yeah. Next championship series, we'll get 7. World Series, we'll get 7. But
right.
Yeah. We'll start talking about some NFL. We'll start with the NFL preview this weekend, and then we'll hop into Thursday night football at the tail end of that. But I do want to talk about that a little bit with you. Let's kick it off. Let's start with the what do we have up first? The snooze fest of this weekend. You can pull that up, Goots. I went with the Ravens pit under, which I believe that Kenny Pickett is playing. He came out and said, just in a strangely, I mean, I thought seeing that injury against the Texans that he was going to be out for a handful of weeks here, but he said he'd be ready to go. Whether I trust that or not, Deshaun Watson said the same thing last week and didn't end up playing by game time. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But either way, I mean, this offense is pitiful and operating kind of in the same way, I think, regardless of who they're going to put at quarterback. I think they're going to be all right, but I think the Ravens are going to pressure them too much to where the point it's just going to be a gross, grinded out game. I think the Steelers defense does enough to keep the Ravens on the ground and make them go grind out long drives as well. So I think this is a little slugfest, like a field goal type game, field goal fest and field goal deciding the game as well. I think it's like a 2017 some way. I don't really have a particular lean on the side. I know you do, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
okay,
you can get to yours.
Yeah, Cowboys Niners. I think this was 45.5 down to 45. I mean, the Niners offense has been rolling, and the Cowboys did exactly what they needed to do with that bounce back after losing to the Cardinals. What was it? I think 38-3 final against the Patriots, and Patriots defense that has had respect, and obviously people football's so back, man. People they respect Belichick scheming and stuff like that. But the Cowboys could be stopped. I know they also scored, I believe they scored 2 touchdowns on defense as well. So maybe those points were a little skewed. I don't see them necessarily, creating turnovers into points, but I do maybe see them finally slowing down this Niners offense a little bit. That game against the Cardinals, I think it kind of threw them off a little bit with that Trayvon Diggs injury. And I know we've had some people say like, oh, it's not that important. They had depth. Micah Parsons is more of an impact. I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but it's still like a big name player that kind of throws off your psyche a little bit, maybe in the locker room and in preparation and stuff like that. So I think the defense is still going to be rock solid and just fine, in this game in particular and throughout the rest of the season. Like the Cowboys are a problem. And now, I'm sure some people, I haven't heard it, but that narrative of, the Niners have knocked the Cowboys out of the playoffs. I believe in it twice now, right? Back-to-back years. Yeah. And, maybe there's some revenge and for the Cowboys, et cetera, but I'm not going with the Cowboys to win this game necessarily. I can't bet on Mike McCarthy over Kyle Shanahan. But I do see maybe the Niners offense slowing down, the Cowboys defense playing well. And then, the Niners defense has been good too, even though the Cardinals somehow scored 16 and they could have scored one late I don't know if you had the Niners. I had the Niners to cover. Yeah. That would have been insane. I mean, if you would have told me the Arizona Cardinals were scoring, 24 points on the Niners, I would have said you're an idiot. So I don't know. Do people think that the Niners defense is maybe susceptible? The Rams scored 23, like you got an Eagles unbeaten ticket. I do. This is a huge game for me. I want the Cowboys. I am the biggest Cowboys fan this weekend, hoping that they come through. But yeah, I think this is an underplay for me. I think especially with the Cowboys offense, I believe you guys bet on Dak under interceptions, and for good reason that he might be more conservative this year. And that's really what we've seen. I think he's only thrown one, right?
I believe so. Yeah. It was the one against the Cardinals in the end zone.
Yeah. He hasn't thrown many.
Worst throw of all time, but
and the Cowboys offense is moving the ball, but there's not really big, huge, explosive plays. He's being conservative. He's not really forcing anything. They probably think and dunk, put together some long, methodical drives. So what you're hoping for here. I'm not betting on punts. Sometimes when you're on unders, that's ideally what you want to bet on is a team not being able to move the ball. I think the offense move the ball. I just think they have a tough time scoring.
Yeah, that's fair. And I will be in stark contrast rooting against you for a person who has a Niners last undefeated team ticket. So I'll be praying.
Were they the favorite? What'd you get that number at?
Yeah, they were the favorite. They were, I think, 50 cents below.
Oh, okay. Like 8-1 or 750 or something.
Yeah, I think they're 750. Double check that, but
okay.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be another. Granted, it's prime time, so you can kind of expect this at this point, a big field goal game, especially when we get into the red zone. Which not a stretch saying that about the Cowboys because their red zone offense has looked. I don't know. They're one of the hardest red zone teams to watch right now, and that's saying that as an avid Cowboys hater, and it's just been tough to watch. So I could get down with that. Just hoping the Niners win that game.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's like a 2017 Niners win.
That would be nice. Yeah. That would be nice. Maybe not. I don't know what I'm going to do betting in that game for a side because you're going to have to take a side. But 3.5 is looking at me weird. I don't like it. But yeah, these are snooze fest. We can go to the Mikey overs of the weekend. Favorite over. I went with the Jets Broncos over.
Damn.
Which I don't know if it's square at this point, which I really like your Colts Titans over as well. That probably would have been mine if that wasn't up here. But I believe in Zach Wilson a little bit. Even going on the road in elevation against the Broncos here, he showed me enough against his Chiefs defense last week, especially under a decent bit of pressure at times, to make me believe that he can be pretty good against a really, really bad Broncos defense, especially when you're going to give him most of the same looks, just with a little less coverage and efficiency than he saw against his Chiefs defense. So, I mean, this Broncos defense has been god-awful, and on the other side, their offense has been really good, and that's been kind of the start point of this team. Russell Wilson's been playing really good ball, just has been covered up by the fact that the defense really can't stop anybody. I got to see who's playing in the run game for them. Javonte Williams a little banged up. I don't know what his status is going to be, but regardless, you're going to have Samaje Perine and Julian McLaughlin, who McLaughlin's actually been a pretty decent spark for the run game as well. I don't know. I think with as good as the Jets defense has been, I know that they're on the road and you have a really bad Broncos defense on the other side. I feel like if the Broncos were going to get completely shut down offensively, we wouldn't be seeing 43.5 even at home. That's kind of the way that I looked at it first off. So I don't know if I was overvaluing maybe the Broncos offense against the Jets defense a little bit, but those are my thoughts. I think the Broncos offense really picks off the Jets defense, and the Jets are able to keep up. I don't know what you think about that.
I have so many thoughts. I could talk to you about this game for like an hour. I am so interested. I'm so interested to watch this game. And like, if people don't remember, like, this is the game that both coaches have probably had circled on their schedule, with Sean Payton calling out Nathaniel Hackett. The Jets probably would have wanted to make a statement if Aaron Rodgers was playing, because Aaron Rodgers is boys with Nathaniel Hackett, and put it to Sean Payton. But with Zach Wilson, I'm kind of throwing that narrative out the window a little bit. I wanted to really like the Jets. I'm no pro. It opened 3. It's down to 1.5. I'm not going to play him there. I would have loved to have gotten a 3, so I'm just going to pass. I think the total opened 40. It's up to 43.5. So money loves that over. I'm with it. My one concern, I watched that Jets game, and Zach Wilson looks so much better when he's out of the pocket. I don't know why they don't do that, 80% of the time when they run pass plays. Like, he's not a guy to sit in the pocket and let a play develop. So I guess my one concern is this, and you mentioned that Russell Wilson and the Broncos offenses look good. I think I'm on an island against the stat and analytics people who I'm not a Charles Barkley by any means. I love analytics. I'm all for it. But I think that Russell Wilson has benefited tremendously, as has the Broncos offense, from playing a Raiders defense, who is not good, a Commanders defense, which we know is not good, and then the Bears defense, who might be one of the worst, if not the worst, in football. So, and the Dolphins aren't that great. And, the numbers are heavily skewed for many reasons, but this is the first defense he's going to get that's legitimate. I don't know if the Jets are a top 5 defense, but they're good, and they have good DBs. So is this Broncos offense going to put up points? Is Russell Wilson a guy who could barely score against the Raiders? What were they down against the Bears? 28-7 until
down 3 touchdowns. Yeah.
So they couldn't even, they granted they did enough to win the game, and the Bears made some fucking blunders, so they could have won, but he didn't do anything until the game was almost out of reach. Like, are they actually going to be competent and put up points against the Jets defense? That's my only concern and apprehension with this game, but I could see it being like a 24-21 and get you over just barely. So I have nothing against it. I would co-sign it. If anything, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, 100%. And the reason I had the same thoughts about, obviously, like, I don't think the Broncos have played any really good defense to this point, other than, I don't know, maybe one you could argue. But seeing all of the Jets plays of the year, scared that I love the Jets, and now this line is ticking back to 2.5 with the total that I already think is a little high. If the Broncos are really going to get shut down, that's why I'm leaning into it a little bit. But I 100% agree. Talk about the Colts Titans.
The last thing I'll say on that, I'm off the Jets because I've been listening to sports talk radio and sports betting radio. I haven't heard one person say they don't like the Jets. It's like Zach Wilson's stock is at an all-time high after one good performance. So it's concerning me a little bit. Colts Titans, man, I think we all kind of agree that we like Vrabel as a dog, and he opened +1. It's now -1.5. But the Titans offense needed that game against the Bengals. I feel like everybody on earth probably expected it, and that was probably the Derrick Henry, here I am, I still got it in the tank type of game, and no better type of team to play against to get on back on track. But now you've got a divisional matchup, and if you look at what the Titans typically do when they go play the Colts in Indianapolis, they show up. They show up for these games. And I think the Titans offense actually puts up some points, which also forces the Colts to put up some points, because Anthony Richardson has been much better than I expected. I definitely didn't think that he wasn't a playmaker or wasn't great with his legs. I doubted him as a passer. I mean, he was not good at Florida, but credit to Shane Steichen, I guess, because he knows how to put this guy in good positions. I heard that he's leading the NFL in explosive plays. That's amazing. Throwing to guys like he's got Michael Pittman and whatnot, but like Alec Pierce and Zach Moss is running the ball well. I mean, it's kind of insane. He had a really slow start against the Rams in the first half. They didn't put up any points, but then he came out and they showed up in the second half. I don't think they have a slow start again. I think that was maybe him shaking off a little bit of the rust from missing the game before. So I think this is a slugfest, man. I think they go back and forth, trading points, trading possessions of, like efficient possessions. I don't see a lot of 3 and outs. I see both teams moving the ball. In the end, I think the Titans get the best of them. But I like points here.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess we'll talk about the Titans a little later when we get to the categories towards the end. But I liked what I saw from their offense, and it wasn't just a Derrick Henry thing, which a lot of fantasy owners especially were sounding the alarms after he had probably his two of the 3 toughest matchups of the season that he's going to see prior to last week. But he really got it going. He wasn't healthy for a while at the beginning of the season too. He's dealing with the toe injury. So he wasn't getting as many snaps. Tajay Spears was tapping in, and he still will be. But I think he's going to be good. I think from the passing game perspective, too, they also figured a little bit of something out. Again, I know it's against the Bengals, who are terrible right now, but a little more play action. DeAndre Hopkins got involved a little more.
Yep.
So I like what they're doing with the offense, and I think it's going to get better and better as the season progresses. And I do think they kind of blitz them and go up early in this game. And for a Colts offense, which you talked about, Anthony Richardson leading league in explosive plays, you're going to have to do that while coming from behind against one of the worst secondaries in the league.
Right.
So they're going to be in big passing situations, I think, from the jump against that secondary, which is all the makings of a shootout. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. The Titans secondary is atrocious. Their front seven's actually not bad, but against a mobile quarterback, that's if you need points, it's not the worst thing, because if he escapes and gets out of the pocket, it creates more opportunities for big plays.
100%. I think you're going to see plenty of it. Of it. Now we can go to the favorite of the weekend, which some could say blowout. It's the name of the category, but we have a couple of short spreads. I'll tell you that much. I went with the Falcons. I mean, this line is one of the stranger ones I guess you've seen all season. You wouldn't have said that like a couple weeks ago, but now that we've seen CJ Stroud and this Texans offense, who, trust me, I am as big a slurper as you'll see really with everybody in the public right now, and CJ Stroud in that offense. I love Nico Collins. Tank Dell's awesome. I think D'Amico Ryans is absolutely fantastic. But the Falcons are coming off of that game where they got absolutely embarrassed in London. But this is going to be one of the toughest defensive matchups that CJ Stroud has faced at this point, especially when you talk about the secondary, which you have AJ Terrell there, who I don't want to say he's going to absolutely shut down Nico Collins, but it's definitely the best matchup that he's going to have seen all season, or the most consistent matchup, because he is going to travel with him. And then that leaves a really good defense behind them. The Falcons front seven has been pretty good. You're going to see a lot of pressure, which is nothing new to CJ Stroud, especially with that offensive line that he's had. He's dealt with it really well. The Falcons are going to put that offense in a vacuum, especially at home, where big issue with the Falcons the last couple of weeks, they're playing on the road / neutral site in London. It's been a thing for like the last 3 years. They cannot play anywhere else but Atlanta. So when you see this line creeping towards them with, everybody and their mother is going to be on the Texans, I think their defense absolutely dominates this game. And you're going to see CJ Stroud look human for the first time this season, really.
Couldn't agree more. Money was hammering the Texans. I think it opened 3 down to pick them. And now money's coming back in on the Falcons. The thing about the Falcons with Desmond Ridder, and that was the one reason you and I talked about this a lot in the offseason. Like, I was anti-Falcons because everyone liked the Falcons. I was like, man, I can't believe they're so trendy. But then I came around to the Falcons for a lot of other football reasons. But I can't get there with Desmond Ridder. And the guy, his record at home speaks for itself. I don't think he's 31-0 or 30-0 at home. Terrible on the road. But they've been. I'm not really gonna put too much stock into the last 2 losses for the Falcons, like on the road in Detroit. Detroit's fucking good. And we saw that defense on display the week before against the Packers. I mean, they were all over them. So it doesn't surprise me that they shut down Desmond Ridder, who's not good on the road to begin with. And then you got to go from there to London and play a Jags team that's already familiar with playing in Europe, et cetera. So typically, like, you don't want to bet on a team coming back from London. Like, that's a tough spot for them. But I'm with it because the Texans stock is at an all-time high. I am so pro CJ Stroud. Bet him to win the Heisman. Obviously, it didn't work out. My guys, Steak and Greg, are on him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's the favorite. And I think they have Texans over wins. But I think this is a spot where the Dirty Birds just play different at home. And I think it's going to be a bad matchup for CJ. I agree. I like the under. I like the Texans offense to not do much here. And I like the Falcons offense to do exactly what they did kind of against the Packers, except not play from behind. I mean, they put up over 400 yards of offense and almost 30 first downs. I think they get in control and stay in control for most of the game. So I'm 100% I will be on the Falcons this week.
Yeah, and you know how they do it. Last thing I'll say about this game, you know who the worst graded rush defense in the NFL is right now?
Is it the Texans?
The Houston Texans.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's not good. That's not good.
So,
yeah.
Talk about like a lot of those games, frankly, like the Packers game, even for a bit, like Ritter had to come back with his arm and with his legs and kind of make plays himself. He ain't going to have to do that against the worst graded pass or the worst graded rush defense in the NFL. This is going to be a Bijan, Tyler Algier masterclass. So, yes, we have the square in our little, I think this was the Spaces prize picks that we did this entry, which I think he already has 2. He's getting another 100-yard game in this game. You want to talk about him and Algier combined are probably going to have 150, 200. So
and Tyler Bachmeier putting up the interception odds is interesting. The list of quarterbacks with 100-plus passing attempts and 0 interceptions this season is Brock Purdy, Josh Dobbs, and C.J. Stroud. And I'm not trying to catch the falling knife here, but I do think this is probably the game C.J. throws an interception. So I would probably sprinkle on that too.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that at all. Talk about the Eagles.
Yeah, I know it's always we're pretty like-minded, but it's always healthy to disagree. And I know we kind of disagree on the Eagles. You and Krabs are anti-Eagles for very, very legitimate reasons. Losing players.
Before you say that, let me preface. I don't love fading the Eagles because they feel very Vikings-like to me from last year. It's like I think we're going to see them. It's just now that they have not starting. I guess this is not like an easy game by any stretch of the means,
right.
But starting when they get into like the one difference last year with the Vikings and this year at the Eagles that they have a really tough stretch of games that they're about to enter, pretty soon. Yeah, so like I think they're not a terrible team, but slightly a fraudulent team or a little overvalued a team. We're just going to see them exposed very soon. But against like I don't know the rest of their schedule, I really don't have any interest in fading them. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, no, that's more than fair. And I guess what I think about the Eagles is because I am a last undefeated team and a Super Bowl investor on the Eagles, and I did that strategically. I did not bet them over wins because their schedule is so much more difficult. They're with 2 new coordinators, but I just think they have too much talent. And I there's something about Jalen Hurts. I don't even know if he's that good of an actual quarterback, but he's just such a good fucking dude that like everybody wants to play for. And I don't know. I just like him. And it's kind of like when the Dolphins swapped in Tua and it's like, remember at the time, like Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing pretty well. I was like, that's weird. Why put him in now? But like the team played better and harder when Tua was quarterback. Like I think the team loves Jalen Hurts and they just have so much strength in the trenches. And I love that. They're just tough, man. They're a tough team, but they have problems. And we've seen that. I mean, you saw Sam Howell fucking carve them up. 31 points against the Eagles defense. They are not there schematically, and I think they're maybe lacking a little bit, in talent. I don't know if it's injuries strictly on the secondary, but the defensive line is incredible. But offensively is why I really like them in this spot. I think they're going to be, like you said, they got this stretch coming up. They know these wins on the schedule right now are very, very important. And I think they are very motivated to get them. And also just in general, like figure it out. There's an argument to be had that they're fraudulent. I lean on the side that they just haven't figured out yet their new schemes and gotten familiar yet. But I think they're the type of team that is going to get better as the season progresses if they stay healthy. With that said, they can still drop a couple games. I'm not saying they're going to run the table by any means. But a team like the Rams is just not a team that I think matches up well against the Eagles, pound for pound. The Rams are probably going to move the ball. They can, if Sam Howell can carve up the secondary, I think Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay can. But I think this is a game I don't see the Eagles punting. Like I see them getting in to the Rams like 40 or 35 almost every possession. The offense got better. I mean, they've struggled early in the games, but they got better on the road in Tampa. So now I think this is their 3rd road game. I think, and that place, I mean, the Philly fans travel very well, but LA isn't a big sports city. It's not like it's going to be overwhelmed with LA fans. It's going to be a fun
Eagles mostly Eagles fans.
It's going to be mostly Eagles. Yeah, it's going to be just like the Steelers, in LA. And like, for whatever reason, like when you're a player and you go on the road and you've got your fans there traveling, like it just hypes you up even more. I think this offense is going to click. I love them to score. And frankly, I just kind of think that like they score more than the Rams. It's that fucking simple. Like, I don't necessarily think they're going to shut down the Rams offense necessarily, especially getting Cooper Kupp back. Like, that's probably why I think the line's moved the way it has. I think the Eagles opened up 5 or 4.5. Money's hitting the Rams. I would not be surprised at all if when game day comes and those larger limits are accepted by the sports books, if you see some late money and movement towards the Eagles at 3.5 and they get up to 4.5. So I'm on the Eagles here. I think they take care of business, and I just think they outlast the Rams personally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this is a pretty good spot for the Eagles. The one part we can't agree, I also do think that they kind of get it together throughout the rest of the season. The defense is going to get healthier. Kind of once they hit the tail end of that stretch of really games, I think they're going to go on a run, which, again, obviously they're going to get healthier in the secondary. It's a good thing to kind of hang your hat on when you have the best offensive line in football as well. So, like, fraudulent may be a little bit of a stretch. I just think they're going to play a lot of close games when they win them, but back half of the season, they'll be all right. I do.
Very fair. I mean, we've already seen it. That's coming to fruition. You know what I mean? It's not like you're just saying that and waiting for it to happen. It keeps happening.
Yeah, it does. It does. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. We can move to the underdog section of the week. Might be barking. I went with the Vikings. Yeah. Vikings +4. I mean, it's just one I simply have to play with how they've been and how that line looks, which we all know the Chiefs. I don't know why I would figure that eventually people or the public are going to catch on to the Chiefs not covering. So it gives me like a little bit of pause every single time I fade the Chiefs because they play a lot of close games, really no matter who they're playing outside of the Chicago Bears. But a game like this in Minnesota where I am still holding out hope for the Vikings because I do think Kirk Cousins is playing – honestly, some of the best ball he's played in his career. It's obviously not his fault that the Vikings are losing games. They're losing it because of turnovers, they're losing it because of the defense. But offensively, I mean, that passing attack is as potent as anybody in the league right now. So I trust them to put up points against this Chiefs defense, which not many can say they've done this season. The Chiefs defense in their front seven especially has been really, really good. But again, I think there's a reason why Vikings even at home are 4.5 down to 4 in this game, which I wasn't expecting movement so quickly. So I had to lock in there, but I like them to score points. Again, we have a 53 total, which even with the Chiefs involved against the Vikings defense, it feels a tad high to me with how good the Chiefs defense has been this season against, granted, a lot of putrid offenses, but they've been pretty good. So like, I think this is the week where we finally see them get diced up a little bit. I know they just got touched up by Zach Wilson a little bit, put up 20 points in that game. So, I mean, how much can you really say it? But Kirk masterclass this week. And I know you also agree, which we'll talk about in a second, but talk to me.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. And, I always like to remember certain examples or like if we've seen this happen before, and I like to lean into it kind of happening again if it resembles a similar type of game or matchup. And this gives me the same vibe that the Chiefs had on the road last season against the Colts. And I don't know if you remember that game, but it was like everybody said it was rigged, it was fixed, whatever. And the Chiefs did look weird. But it was one of those things where it's like you just had to hold your nose and take the Colts. And it was like, why is the line moving to the Colts? They're not that good. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. And yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's like you just kind of have to take the Vikings. And I do think the line has moved. I think it was 5.5 down to 4. I mean, money likes it, and I agree. I don't know that. I guess if I'm looking for a concern, is it because the Chiefs didn't cover and played the Jets and Zach Wilson really close? So maybe maybe we're getting duped here because it's like, oh, well, if Zach Wilson can do that and have his best game and God knows how long against the Chiefs, well, Kirk Cousins can too. I'm not sure I'm buying that. I mean, nobody likes betting on the Vikings. But Kirk has been really good. And I know he's not necessarily the reason they have been losing, but he's certainly not doing them any favors with winning. I think they're the reason that they lost the game against the Bucs. And he could have had an opportunity. I know the defense allowed 28 points and Justin Herbert to go 40 or 47, but he had an opportunity to make a logical play to spike the ball on the 6-yard line and give himself 4 plays to win it, and he didn't, and that was kind of on him. But aside from that, I mean, the offense is doing fine. And granted, they played the Panthers, who are terrible, but you got to be feeling a little bit better that your defense at least went on the road and only allowed 6 points, because 7 of them was a pick six. And if the Vikings clean up their turnover, I mean, they have 5 turnovers inside the 6-yard line. It's fucking insane.
Dude, it's crazy. I mean, I've never seen a team fumble more in a couple game stretch to begin the season. It's insane.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm with it. I like the Vikings. I'll be playing the Vikings as well. Obviously, wish we got a better number, but what are you going to do? And somebody said Vikings outright. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Colts beat the Chiefs. You never know, man. Weird shit happens.
Yeah, 100%. Missed a couple sub bangs, too. Shout out. We got the Gen family sub bangs. We got Greg coming in here.
There we go, Greg.
Forward. We love to see it. We also got one more, I think. Timmy T-Bros, GOAT, absolute GOAT. Shout out to Bangs. Appreciate you guys. But, yeah, talk to me about the Steelers.
Yeah, there's kind of like sometimes it's really just as easy as, for example, when Lamar Jackson is an underdog, just bet on him, and the one time I was a little nervous about that was against the Browns. And, he was like +3, +2.5. And it's like, God, the Browns defense is just so good. And then he did flip to a favorite. But what do? I mean, they just went in, they dominated, they controlled the game and did what they needed to do. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens are different as a dog. Now, I think the same type of scenario comes into play with Mike Tomlin as an underdog and the Steelers and underdog. And add on top of that, the Steelers after an ass kicking. I don't know the exact trend, but I think when the Steelers lose by 20 plus points the following week, they're like 10-0. And we already saw this happen. And I don't know if you bet it, but I was on the Steelers against the Browns. And that was after they lost to the Niners by 23 points. And they play the Browns. And it's a low total. I know you like the under. The only concern I have on that is kind of the same concern I had with the Browns. If the Steelers are in this game and they win this game, it's like, how the fuck do they do it? Well, they probably do it by the defense. And does that mean the defense scores points or put them in position to score easy points? That's the only reason it scares me about the total. But other than that, I do think that the defense bounced back and contains the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I almost actually going into this and this being my bet, I actually thought Trubisky was going to play. And frankly, like what can't a healthy Trubisky do that injured Kenny Pickett can't do? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not a Mitch Trubisky truther by any means, but I'm almost a little nervous. Like I like Kenny Pickett. I'm not writing him off just yet. He's been bad at times for sure. But I thought he was going to be out there. We're going to get Trubisky. And I thought Trubisky might honestly just go in there and like just do enough, not make too many mistakes, just do enough, play pretty conservative. Freiermuth's out, which kind of sucks. But I mean, I'm a Jalen Warren guy. So if you're playing props, anything Steelers related, I'm always pro Jalen Warren. But yeah, it's Tomlin as a dog in a division, man. And after a big loss, like I just kind of have to autoplay it for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I will 100% be on the Steelers as well. I think this is regardless of. I know Kenny Pickett came out and said he's playing. We'll see if that's actually the truth.
Oh, true.
Regardless of who you see, I think it's the Steelers this week. I'm with you. We can move to. What are PP squares? You can go to that next.
And Jay Clear, do you see Lamar struggling like Deshaun Watson? Not necessarily, but you also can't write off the fact that, I mean, Lamar, he has the ability to struggle. You know what I mean? He struggled against the Colts. Kind of a big part of the reason they lost that game. So I don't know, back-to-back road division games. It's not easy. So somewhat, maybe.
Yeah, fair. Goods. You wanna tap in and try and sway us?
No, I love to hear this. That's all.
Who is Goose a fan of?
Ravens.
Oh, I got you. Okay, he's probably licking his chops then. He loves it.
Yeah, he's licking his chops, man.
He's putting DJ on the fade list after the Ravens win fucking 45-10. Fair enough.
Yeah, he's going right after you, man.
Love it.
Right after you. But we can talk about our PP squares. You pointed this one out to me. I have to take it. Daniel Jones did not throw a pick, which this one is gross, but it feels similar to a lot of the spots that we've seen. Goods, pull up the prize picks chart in the background while we're talking about this, but this feels very similar to a spot like we saw Josh Allen after week 1 throw 3 interceptions on primetime football against the Jets. Everybody was so worried about Josh Allen. He had a green out chart last 5 games. He's thrown a bunch over, and then he goes and plays a defense that's a little better of a matchup for him. And what does he do? He doesn't throw a pick. Now we have Daniel Jones, who has thrown, super green, thrown multiple. He looked absolutely awful against the Seahawks, which most of that, I would say was not at all his fault, because we've seen at this point how bad the offensive line is for the Giants and how injured the offensive line is as well. And it's only getting worse. Now you go play the Dolphins, what I think is going to be a higher total game, or is a higher total game. I think the Giants are going to score points as well. And you go to a pass rush that is 22nd in the league, graded 22nd in the league for the Dolphins. So the only worst pass rush he's seen is the Cardinals. He ranked 25th. All of the other defenses he's faced, when we talk about the Niners, best pass rush in the league. The Cowboys, 3rd pass rush in the league. The Seahawks, ranked 6th in the league. It's a little different. So I'm not saying that the Giants' offensive line is going to hold up and look fantastic, but we're not going to see Daniel Jones grasping for air as much as he was on Monday night. So he ain't throwing a pick, man.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know that I can take it because it's not New York, but I will find a way to if I can. But Drew Bender just said something that I agree with. I don't know if he's going to throw a pick because I don't know if Dable's going to allow him to throw. They're going to be, in my opinion, so conservative with what they do. And that is going to be the theme in practice all week is don't turn the fucking ball over. And I'm not saying it's not every week, right? Nobody wants to.
Yeah.
But more so when you're on the road against an offense like Miami, you have to keep your defense off the field. When you're an offense, you have to be smart. You can't turn the ball over. That's going to be the emphasis. So, I wouldn't be shocked if his yards per completion is 5. I just think they're going to dink and dunk like crazy. Maybe he's going to use his feet a lot more. So, yeah, I'm totally with it. Also, I don't know if they get Andrew Thomas back. That would help tremendously.
I don't believe so.
They don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw something. I don't know how true it is, but I think I saw something recently saying he wasn't coming back. He wasn't going to play this week. But, yeah, I think they're going to be super conservative, especially after what we saw last week and what the world saw last week. The Dolphins' run defense is also they're just a little bit below average. I think they're 17th, 18th in the league as far as grades go. So they can be a little successful. I'm not going to say Matt Breida is going to go out there and put up 100 rushing yards, but I think we'll get Daniel Jones a little comfortable. And especially, if the Dolphins go out and blitz him in this game, he's going to be seeing a lot of very conservative coverage from them as well. So
yeah, and I can tell you my buddy Steak, if he's still in here, he is on the Giants. After I asked him politely to just not do it, he said, I'm doing it. So he is going to be taking the Giants plus 11.5. I don't know if you're doing that as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you can get me to do that. I honestly considered backing just their team total. So, I don't want to trust their defense. I don't want to trust their defense, but I do think they score in this game. Yeah. Which I think that is 17.5. So, I considered that between that and just the regular over the game, but I don't know how I want to play it. But yeah, I'm taking him not throw a pick. And then my semi-square one that I have on here, backing somebody, is Alvin Kamara over his receiving yards, which is 24.5, and he had 13 catches against the Bucs last weekend, which, first of all, crazy that it only went for 33 yards. But I have my serious concerns about this offense at this point, which everybody should. The Derek Carr is not good. The Saints offense is not good. It's not going to get much better either. Really think, honestly, it would have been much better with Jameis. I was excited to see him play against the Bucs, but that didn't end up happening because Carr played. But against the Patriots, yes, you have no Christian Gonzalez, which is a massive, massive hit to that secondary. But I think Belichick is going to scheme up well enough to not necessarily take Olave and Michael Thomas out of the game, but kind of cloud coverage them to where Derek Carr has to take a lot underneath, which, Michael Thomas runs a lot of slants, so, he can do that himself. But I think it's going to be a similar game plan defensively that the Patriots are going to run to what the Bucs ran, which was very successful and forced Derek Carr to take a lot of dump downs. So I think that's something we're going to see with Kamara in the offense a lot more often, kind of going through the rest of the season. I guess not more often because, he had 13 catches. How much more do you want from him than he did last week? But I think this is going to be a staple, and you're going to see it be a little more effective against this defense as well. So you're not going to need, double-digit catches to go over his yard mark. But I like him to be pretty conservative in a game that I think is going to be pretty nasty. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I love the Saints. I think crap's looking like Jeff Saturday. Yeah. Yeah, and I'll actually, I'm not going to take it, but I think I always look at a matchup and I'm like, what's the game that nobody is going to want the over? It's this one.
Yeah.
And, I think it even creeped up like 38.5 to 39.5 or 40. It would not surprise me if you get points here. And also add into that, this is always feel like the Saints are, and I've fell victim to this too. Like when they're a dome team and, defense, they're tough, but like offensively, they're soft. And, Drew Brees is a great quarterback, but he's not one to like go out there and throw deep or whatever. And you would go out to these cold weather, or not cold weather, but these like outdoor stadiums, like in the Northeast or the Midwest, and you just kind of write off the Saints. But like, remember they beat the Browns in the snow. They beat the fucking Packers. Well, not this year, but they beat the Packers before. They win these weird types of games in stadiums and in atmospheres you wouldn't expect them to. I do think, like you said, I love Michael Thomas in this game. I think Carr, whoever's playing, leans on him tremendously, and Kamara. This is the old Saints like workhorses revival game. Kamara and Michael Thomas, I think, are going to have great days. Maybe Olave gets one or two. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, somebody said the Patriots defense shows up, maybe, but man, I think this team has got to be running low. They got to be running on E if Mac Jones can't get it going. And I mean, I don't know. I think that Saints D probably shows up and Saints get the best of them. So yeah, I love it.
100%. And shout out Fluffy Bears for the 5U sub whale. Much appreciated. Absolute goat. Take us to your two squares.
Yeah. So I think one of them maybe we kind of already touched on, or maybe we touched on both of them. I forget what they are. Oh yeah, right. So we kind of did in a way already discuss. So I guess I don't have to give you too much analysis. But yeah, CJ Stroud. Or I can start with Kirk Cousins. Sorry, Kirk Cousins 292.5 at home against the Chiefs defense. You know what kind of stood out to me? It's not even necessarily that red line against the Panthers. I think I was a day early. I thought Kirk Cousins was going to tear up that Panthers defense, who Geno Smith tore up because they're decimated with injuries to their top guys. Thought they were kind of deflated. That didn't happen at all. So I kind of think I'm telling myself I was a day early on the Kirk masterclass. But what is also interesting to me is that line last week was 282.5 when I played it straight. Now it's 10 yards higher after he only threw for 138 yards and against a better defense, a Chiefs defense, which I believe by most metrics are like top 10. So I think that that's pretty telling. And I think that the offense knows when you're playing against Patrick Mahomes and from what you've seen from your defense, like you have to move the ball. And I think they're going to do that. And I think we're going to see, I'm not going to say we're going to see like weaknesses in the Chiefs defense, but if there's somebody that's going to exploit them, I think it's going to be a Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. And I think they're going to find success. I don't know that they score points. I certainly hope they score points. So I'm not getting cute personally with like anything else on like touchdown score or whatever. I don't know how they get in the end zone. Maybe it's a Hawkinson day. It could be a Hawkinson day. Yeah, he's a little quiet.
They're terrible against tight ends. That's been a trend for a couple years. So it could be a Hawkinson day to back him.
Love it. All right, I'm sold. I'm going to put it on my board immediately after this is over. But yeah, give me Kirk over passing yards. I'm gonna go back to it. And then the other one, like we had discussed, it's your best bet or one of your best plays is the Falcons, and I absolutely agree with it. And part of the reason is because it's a Falcons offense and a Desmond Ridder that's more comfortable at home, and I think it's going to dominate and move the ball. But at the same time, I think this defense is going to be all over CJ Stroud, and I think it's going to be. I think we're going to see just a little bit of CJ Stroud regression. My one concern always is are the Texans going to be playing from behind, and are they going to be throwing the ball at will against soft coverages? I feel like we've seen more and more defenses get into prevent and softer coverages when they get a lead. Even if it's like what were the fucking Saints on against the Panthers? It was like 13 points or something, and then Bryce Young was going down the field with these. So that always concerns you a little bit if you don't like the team and you're betting on the player this way. But yeah, I'm good with it. Give me a little bit of coin on CJ Stroud's first bad game as a rookie quarterback. Well, I guess Baltimore wasn't great, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Not really a lot of his fault in that game. But yeah, I'm with you there, obviously. We'll go to a meat on table play, which mine is I just doubled down on the Falcons, so I don't need to resell that. I know we talked about the Titans game a little bit. Talk to me about why you're backing the Titans specifically a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm on this over, and I don't typically go with an over or a total and a side in the same game, but I'm going to do it today. And I feel like I wanted to do this last week. I love the Rams. I ended up going with the over in the game. I barely got there, and the Rams almost blew it also. But
yeah,
what I mentioned when I talked about this over is what the Titans do when they go into Indianapolis. And honestly, at the end of the day, I don't know that they've lost in Indianapolis in like the last 3 years. And I don't see it starting now. As much as I respect Shane Steichen and I respect Anthony Richardson, part of my reasoning and my capping for the Rams was a veteran head coach and a veteran quarterback. When they play, they kind of take it a little bit personal, right? They don't want to lose to – it's like seniors losing to freshmen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to lose to these young guys. They take it personally. And I think Mike Vrabel, more than anybody who I respect, and also as a dog, which they opened +1, the line has now flipped, but I don't care. I'll still lay it. So I'm gonna go with Vrabel in a divisional game on the road in Indianapolis, where they have just shown that they have success. So I think they stick it to the rookie head coach and quarterback.
Love it. Love it. Masterclass from the offense, which is super painful to say, but it just might be.
I know.
I do want to breeze through it to make sure we can have a good bit of talk about Thursday Night Football, Bears Commanders, which also is very disgusting to say. I want to hear your thoughts on this game. This is a pretty weird matchup, which, I mean, both these teams are super, super confusing to handicap in the first place, but we do have Sam Howell against a pretty terrible defense in the Bears, and then Justin Fields coming off of his best game of the season by a pretty wide margin against another Commanders defense that hasn't really impressed too much.
No.
He led the league in passing yards last week, which, again, even against a pretty terrible Broncos secondary, is pretty crazy to say and crazy to see. You buying stock into him just yet?
No, I'm not. I like Sam Howell. I want to make it very clear. I like some of these Washington Commander players. I like some of the guys they got on the roster. I do not like Ron Rivera. I think Ron Rivera, I am already invested in this game. I have Ron Rivera to be the first head coach fired. Okay. And I am barely alive because Eberflus might not get fired. Brandon Staley's been bailed out. I don't know who's next. Josh McDaniels probably isn't going anywhere. Ron Rivera's seat is going to get hot. That's what I keep telling myself. Now, I was very wrong with that reasoning against the Eagles because I thought the Eagles were going to kick the shit out of them. But the Commanders always get up when they play in Philly. Good for them. Maybe that's a Ron Rivera thing. If it is, good for him, and I'm wrong. But overall, at the end of the day, he still made a boneheaded decision not going for 2 that he's getting shit for, which, again, as a bettor, I am happy to see. Now, this is a huge game, right? It isn't because it's a dog shit opponent, but it is because if you're the Commanders, you cannot follow up that deflating divisional loss where you had an opportunity to win the game. You can't follow it up with a shitty performance against the Bears, who are the joke of the NFL. So you have to get up for this game on a short week after a big game like that. I don't know that the Commanders are actually that good. They beat the Broncos on the road, but are the Broncos really that good? I don't think so. They were down almost the entire game against the Cardinals, clawed back. But granted, we know we respect the Cardinals now. They've been competitive in every single game. But I can't get over how pathetic they were against the Buffalo Bills. 3 points, really shut out the entire game. 3 points on like the final drive, field goal, and Sam Howell turning the ball over 4 times. Now, the Bills' defense is good. I think it's good, and I think the Bills are a very good team. The Bears are not. But I just think situationally, I'm not buying the Bears, but I would be fading the Commanders. I would love to get the Bears at 7. Can't get them at 7 right now. They're at 6. If anything, they're going to be 5.5. I like the Bears at 7. I do not like the Commanders, honestly, no matter what the number is. Do I think they lose? No, I'm not going to play it because, like I said, I'm hoping they do, given my current position on the game. And I really have no lean in the total other than I kind of think maybe it's a little low, given how bad these defenses are. And, the Commanders have put up some points. They just put up over 30. They put up over 30 twice on the road. I guess they haven't really done it at home. But the Bears finally look competent. Fields had one of his best passing games, maybe of his career. I don't know if that's a fact. But it's the Broncos defense. But the Commanders defense is also bad. I think Fields can find success. So if anything, I lean Bears. I'd probably play Fields some way, maybe rushing yards. I don't think he's going to throw an interception. He's got a suspicious INT square up too, kind of like Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So I don't think he throws a pick. I don't know how they win this game. If they do, it's not going to be on defense. It's got to be offense. Who's going to be the guy? I don't know. And then on the Commanders, the only guy I would play is Jahan Dotson because I like Jahan Dotson. As a Bucs fan, I love Chris Godwin. I like receivers from Penn State. I'm very pro Jahan Dotson. We know the Bears secondary is banged up and awful. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a low-scoring game, and I lean the Bears with the points.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you said that kind of stuck out with me and how I look at this game, which I guess, first of all, you could say, I don't know how the Commanders are deserving of 6 points, which is keeping me off the Bears. But I do think that total was a little low for how terrible these defenses, I mean, how we've seen, I won't even just say how terrible people expect them to be today. I mean, you're seeing everybody spam the same 4 props, whether it's Brian Robinson, who's boosted in a taco and everything everywhere, and everybody loves him because the Bears can't really stop anybody, or DJ Moore, who is, I don't know, apparently Calvin Johnson now. But yeah, for as terrible as these defenses have been, and especially what we saw from both of these offenses last week, 44.5 with, I mean, we're still seeing juice under most places is interesting.
Yeah,
say that. So I mean, my lean on this game is definitely under.
Agreed.
Goots, put up the prize picks board, and we can go through that very quickly. There's a couple interesting ones, I would say, today. I don't mind the Jahan Dotson. I'll tell you that much. There's a couple of the, I guess, secondary pass catchers for the Commanders that were catching my eye. Whether it's him, whether it's Curtis Samuel too, who I really like. I wish they had a rushing and receiving up for him, because I do think in the run game he's going to get a little bit of work there too, like they've been doing with a little bit of jet sweep action.
Yeah.
And then Logan Thomas too. I hate to spam the entire bat cast of wide receivers, but those are all guys that I can get behind. Some of the weirder squares here too, which I can guarantee you, Krabs. I don't know if he posted anything yet or if he's going to, but I don't know if he's going to get himself to fade this. But Brian Robinson being up for a touchdown is wild.
Does that mean he is going to score or he isn't going to score?
Probably means he isn't, if I had to guess. I mean, anytime this season they've been offensively competent, that guy's getting in the end zone. The one exception is when they didn't score a touchdown against the Bills. But this is absolutely crazy to see.
Wow, Krabs has the he's got under Fields INT. That's good. I like that. He's got the over in the game. I'm not a big fan of the over. But yeah, so it's interesting because I feel like the get cute play here is to fade Robinson and bet on Antonio Gibson. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. I do think too, the Bears, I'm not sure why everybody is on Brian Robinson, other than the fact that they think the Commanders are going to dominate this game from the line of scrimmage. The Bears' run defense is not nearly as bad as I think you see it or see the name getting. When you go through Twitter and you see all the Brian Robinson's posts, it's not nearly as bad. It's just because their secondary is a little worse too. So that's kind of how you attack them. Yeah, I wouldn't mind Antonio Gibson. I'm so scarred because every time I try to get Q with Antonio Gibson, the guy doesn't see the field.
Yeah, no, I know. It's so weird. I don't know why. He was the next best thing a year or two ago. He came out of nowhere, and then I don't know what fucking happened to him. He's been in the doghouse. So, yeah, I don't want to try to get Q with anything Commanders related. Honestly, I'm not into that team. I've been to that stadium. It was awful. There's just nothing about them that gets me going. So I can't get excited or jazzed up to bet on anyone except Jahan Dotson. That would be my only play. I mean, I like Terry McLaurin too, but I guess pick your poison with those guys. I mean, one or the other. I feel like one receiver is probably going to come through. But that's all I got.
So what are you playing for Jahan Dotson?
I would take his over yards. I mean, why overthink it? The Bears secondary is awful and injured. And, maybe if you're thinking of the game plan is to take out the number one threat, which is McLaurin, maybe that opens things up for Jahan Dotson. You look at the prize picks numbers and you see the last 4, he hasn't hit that number. Maybe you think a contrarian and, it's a little fishy. Maybe they're telling you something. He's going to go over. So I don't know. That would be it. Over receiving yards for me on Dotson.
I'm in for that. We do have to get the squad red vote starting.
Oh, let's do it.
So Goots, honestly, I'd be down to put in the Jahan Dotson over yards. We haven't had a great track record with props in the last couple of games, but we're going to try and change that, see if that works. If it wins the vote, of course, put Jahan Dotson over yards in there. I would say put the under in the game as well in there, 44.5. Maybe I guess put the Bears in there. I'm trying to think of stuff to kind of fill here. We don't have.
Do you want it to be only in this game?
What else do we have?
There's college football.
There is college football.
I don't know if you care for it. There's no baseball. Yeah, fuck it. We should just keep it in this game. What about Fields under interception?
I'm down for that. Let me check and see if it's
that would be a would that be the grossest squad right ever?
Yeah, that just might be.
That is rough.
Just might be. Oh, it's not on the Prize Picks board anymore.
Oh,
That hurts. Where'd it go? I wonder where the juice went for that.
Wait. You can't do the over in the game. Crabs can't be on the opposite side of the squad ride, right?
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah, no, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Well,
any touchdown or no? You can't do a touchdown for a squad ride. I don't know.
Yeah, we have before, but the only time we did it was Nick Chubb when he destroyed his knee. So
oh God.
we probably don't need to.
Yeah,
don't need to do that.
Don't curse it. You're like the Madden curse. Commanders team total under. I guess that's still going against Crabs. Somebody said that. I like that. That's nasty.
That is pretty nasty.
Yeah. I don't know. Who's Trent on in this game?
I think somebody said the Bears.
Oh, God.
I mean, we have one game. Do we have to write a poll today, Chad? Because I feel like the one play where we're centered around might just be Jahan Dotson.
That would be fun.
Could be fun.
Could be fun. But wait, if you don't do a poll, you don't do a poll, it's like a dictatorship. Now you're just making the decision.
I know. It's just like I can't think of whatever else we need to fill the poll.
Give them that, or give them like the Bears.
Yeah, we can put the Bears in there.
At least you give them two options.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're on two options. Two options of the poll. Two options. Jahan Dotson more than 43.5 yards, and then Bears +6. Quick minute long two option poll here. We'll make it very quick. I'm definitely giving my vote to Goat Whale Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I would too. Do you like anything Justin Fields rushing related, by the way? I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I have seen it way too many times.
Yeah.
Seen it way too many times to get involved in that. Why no Fields pick? It's not on the PP board anymore, which you can still play great, and I probably will too, but I hate tapping in when it gets yanked from the board.
Go with the golf clap is very funny.
Go.
Oh, come on, Chad.
Got to fill in.
W. Yeah, I think, and somebody's asking about college football. I like Western Kentucky first half. I'm going to take that.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about La Tech today.
Yeah, I looked a little bit about the game. It's just, I hate it.
Parlay, babe.
Dude, what are we doing, man?
What is it?
This doesn't help. They tied the vote.
No, that can't happen.
Literally does not help. Does not help. What are we doing, man? All right.
You can't parlay on the squad ride. No way.
All right. We're going to have to figure it out, man.
All right. How about this? We decide.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the decision is Jahan.
It's Jahan.
Yeah, we got to do it. Do
Someone
it again. I did not vote. G. Fernandez, you give me your vote, man. You give me your vote. All right, but we do have to wrap it up. Get Trent's search stream going.
Right.
We're going with Jahan. We're going with Jahan Dotson, more than 43.5 yards. That's a squad ride today. We're going with a player square on Prize Picks because we kind of have to with one game on the slates, a couple college football too, but that doesn't count. But appreciate you, Jen, for coming on, spitting some NFL knowledge. Appreciate you guys for staying. Let's have a day. Let's see some Jahan legacies.